Every family has a choice, follow the herd or carve their own path. This is the Lone Wolfe Podcast. Are you ready to stray from the pack?
Welcome to the Lone Wolfe Podcast. Hello!
Hilda, welcome to Lone Wolfe Podcast.
Who would have thought? I can't believe I'm with you right now.
That you would be podcasting out of a tent.
Yeah.
Is this a first for you? I have to know.
It is a first, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
Yay! Well, welcome to Lone Wolfe Tent Pod. This is new to us as well. We have been kind of letting our listeners know that we were going to go this direction. But you are the first guest in the tent, so that's super exciting.
It's fun. Let's celebrate.
Woo, celebrate. Okay, Hilda, so I know of you. I have a funny feeling a lot of our listeners probably know of you. But for anybody who doesn't, and also just because, honestly, I love a good intro, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What lights you up? What are your passions? What's, I don't know, something that you're really into right now?
Gosh, I always start before I'm born. Is that okay? That was a long time ago.
I love that. Take it all the way back.
Yeah. So all the way back, the doctors knew something was going to be wrong with me. They knew I was going to be born with a birth defect. They suspected I would be because my mother was exposed to the German measles when she was carrying with me in utero.
Were you her first baby?
No, I was her second. But what happened was, not to get too into it, but my older sister, who at the time was about 2.5, got double pneumonia. And so she was in the hospital. So my mom went to visit her. Picture my mom expecting, going to the hospital, visit her. The roommate in my sister's hospital room had the German measles, rubella.
And they didn't know.
I guess they didn't know, or maybe they didn't know how far along my mom was. But the point is, if a woman who's expecting is exposed to the German measles, they often say the baby will be born unable to see or speak or hear. It could be anything. And they recommended that my mom not have me at all. And so I think this is one reason, Morgan, I'm just so happy to be alive. I even told you that this morning when I was on the beach, I was like, I'm so grateful to be alive. Like every day I'm grateful to be alive because I almost didn't make it. The doctors are like, don't have her. And she was like, my mom was saying, oh yes, I'm going to have this baby. So I was born with nothing apparently wrong. But over the course of a few months and some checkups, they noticed that I had a heart murmur. I basically had a hole the size of a dime between the lower two ventricles. It's called a ventricle septalar defect. And they didn't know if the hole was going to repair itself. I mean, there's just like all these question marks. So basically I grew up a scared, skinny, underconfident kid. And because I just didn't know, is my heart going to explode? I knew the doctors told me it wasn't working right. My parents took me to NIH and they would do catheterizations and x-rays and all these procedures over the years. And finally, when I was 9 years old, they were like, okay, we can do open heart surgery because it's not mending itself. So we're going to sew it up. So they like broke me open. They put my body on ice to slow down all of the body's procedures and systems. They took my heart out. They sewed it up. They put it back in me. They put me back together again. I know. And then they were like, okay, now you can do whatever you want. And I was like, okay. It was like a new lease on life.
Did you feel that way? You felt like this is like a new chance now
I did.
And I can go.
Absolutely. And I'm probably going to cry when I think about it because the first thing I wanted to do was really to thank God because I was like, he saved me. He saved me in utero. It could have been so much worse. He saved me using the surgeon's skill. I was like, I believe in Jesus. And then years later, a doctor saw this huge scar on my chest and she said, you know what? The cross might not have been like this, like a T, a lowercase t. It might have been like a capital T. And I was like, I've been marked. So this really brought me to faith. So I was physically whole and then I became spiritually whole. But the next thing I wanted to do was actually make sure I never set foot in the hospital again. I was like, I've had enough. I've had it up to here. I don't want to go back in there. And I want to help other people do the same, to stay as healthy and as strong for as long as possible. Because hospitals are great, or I should say helpful, maybe not great. Post-trauma, if you have some condition that, they're not quite sure how to address, they might be able to help you out. But better yet, if we never have to set foot in there because we've done all the preventative stuff, So my passion is really well-being, but not just for me. I want it for the whole world.
Yeah.
And especially lately, I've been thinking a lot about moms because I remember when my kids were little, I had 4 kids in 5 years. I was like an accordion. I was like in and out and in and out.
Yep.
And I was like, it was the most demanding time of my life. And I thought, wow, if I could help moms know today, what I wish I knew 20 years ago, powerful stuff. So anyway, what am I excited about? To put it in a nutshell, I'm excited about well-being, especially for moms and kids, because I want people to invest now in generational health, not generational wealth, money in the bank. I'm talking about generational health. And I would love to see that come to pass.
Well, and what a gift to give to a world right now where there's so much against us that, not to get too into the weeds on it, but my husband and I were just having this conversation that I've been realizing so many things at play are to take us away from our true design, from the way that God designed us. There's so much noise out there.
There's so much noise. And I get sucked in just like the next person. I see something online. The algorithm feeds me things I don't expect. I get sucked in because of curiosity. It's a natural, innate thing, right? But then I can find myself looking at things and I'm like, this is not helping me in my purpose in life. It's not helping my spirit. It's not effective. And I think of the people I've met all over the world. I've done a lot of traveling, and the happiest people have no idea who's in power in their country, that there's been a tsunami on the other side of the world. Like, they have no idea. And I think they're the better for it. We go around in contrast with these heavy burdens of information overload that will be in our minds when we're trying to care for our kids or our grandkids. And it's really draining us as opposed to lifting us up. So I understand the perils of social media and this information overload. And I do my best to kind of stay focused on the things that matter most.
It makes me think of this GIF that's been circulating. I don't know if it's showed up in your world as it might in mine, but it's like they're just simple, written form, and it'll be like, 1 second, sweetie, I can't make your sandwich, or I'll make your sandwich right now, something like that. But I just watched somebody get murdered on the internet. Like, it's when all these crazy things are going on, and it's like speaking to moms who are carrying this outside burden of the world that really we're not designed to know, like you're saying, every little detail of everything that's going on when we're at home trying to nurture our own little world. Like, it's so much to carry as moms. It's no wonder so many of us are feeling the weight and breaking underneath it all.
That's right. And that's why people say it's like you're bearing the weight of the world on your shoulders. And you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And so we need to put safeguards. I mean, just tell you, on our own screen time, because more is
as
caught.
Moms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because more is caught than taught. So the kids are watching us and they're going to learn from our behavior more than anything that we say. So where are we prioritizing our time? What are we paying attention to? Is it that talk to the hand to the kid because I'm doing one more scroll or something? It's like ridiculous. I've been walking down the street in my neighborhood, actually, Morgan, I'll tell you a quick story. And I remember going past this like truck one night. There are all these cars in the city where I live, and the people had pulled over. Maybe the parents were looking for directions. I don't know. But there was a little daughter, and both parents were on their phone. I see the kid going like this to the window, and I felt like she was saying, help me.
Yeah.
Now, maybe she was just saying, somebody pay attention to me, and my parents are busy right now. But I thought, this is our children's lives sometimes. Parents are so preoccupied. And I know the kids see the phone as something to be jealous of because it's a device that's taking their parents' attention. And no wonder they're looking over your shoulder. They want a handle on that device too. And soon enough, they're going to be begging for one at their 10th birthday, if not sooner.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And the pressure is out there as parents too, even if you know that it's something that's not suiting your children or for their well-being. There's this weird pressure out there that's what your children need to like fit in, but it makes me think of my sister-in-law was just telling me a story of she was sitting there with my nephew who's 11 weeks old on her lap. She had to do something on her phone, and I was just sitting in the corner like observing, and she literally looked at her baby in the eyes and went, I'm so sorry, like mama shouldn't do that right now. And she put the phone down and then just got like, it's gonna make me like cry, because it's like you were saying, that little kid with their hands in the window, like maybe that's not what was happening, but it's this empowering, like it's this message, and it's sending you something that feels so much bigger than maybe what it is. And I saw that on the opposite side of the spectrum with my sister-in-law and her baby in this moment of just like, how many babies are out there like begging for that?
Yes.
Begging for that moment. Their nervous systems need that. They need this bonding and connection to mother. And if I know you and I are on fire about moms, so I think we could take it that direction. It's happening from the very beginning, where so disconnected, I think, from the importance and the impact that it is to be pregnant, to have a newborn little child in your hands in your home. And we're kind of rushing by it because it's uncomfortable and we don't like to be uncomfortable. And there's so many other distractions and things out there. Moms, you know, in that bounce back culture, we're rushing through it all. And I think that that's damaging to this next generation, these little babies that are being born into sterile environments, rushed away, dried with towels, like thrown into a swaddle, put on a sleep schedule, right? That's the world that we're living in. So I'm curious, from your perspective, if you could tell yourself, how old were you, if you don't mind me asking, when you had your first baby?
27.
Okay, it's 27-year-old Hilda sitting in the chair next to you. What would you tell her to prepare for motherhood?
Now you're going to make me cry. I didn't know this was going to happen. I do think attention is the most precious commodity that our children could ever receive from us, right? The love springs from being present with them. And yeah, as they say, you know, the days are long, but the years go fast, right? So I would say pay attention. And even back when my kids were little, I like to be on the go, and there's nothing wrong with that. I actually think moms should play to their strengths. I was like a stay-at-home mom in name only. Like, we were hardly home. I was like, let's go to the library. Let's go to the zoo. We were always out and about doing activities and stuff, and that was great. But even in that time, I think it would be easy to get in my head with other ideas, either my part-time work or whatever it was, you know, so I wish I was just paying more attention. And so in this day and age, I have come up with some ideas that I think will help moms, actually, especially, like I said, more is caught than taught. So modeling how you want, or what place you want to give technology in your life, you know, I would suggest actually going old school and having a place in your house for your phone. So you're not, you know, flopping on your bed looking at it, or in the living room, you know, while the kids want you to read a story or snuggle. It's like always in one place.
I like that.
So it kind of forces you to go over there to be very intentional. That's one thing. Also, definitely at mealtime, which is a very special time that we did set aside when my kids were little. Like mealtime was a time when we had each other's attention undivided. So no phones at the table, right? Put them in a basket, or put them, even if a company's visiting. Like those small steps really make a difference. And also, I think, how you start and end your day. And of course, it's easier for me now because my kids are grown and my time is my own. But even then, we could easily use the phone as an alarm and then right away start scrolling. Guess what? At that moment in time, you're at the mercy of whatever is being put before you that you might not have even sought out, as I was saying earlier about the algorithm. So I start my day on my own terms. Like, I get up out of bed, maybe I do a little bit of journaling before I do, but after I brush my teeth and get dressed, I just head outside. So I always say sunrise before screen rise, because it's so powerful to get natural light in your eyes. I mean, I could go on and on about all the benefits of that. You know, the light hits your suprachiasmatic nucleus in your brain. It informs every clock in every cell of your body what time of day it is. So you get the right dose of cortisol to wake you up and get you going. You get your hormones regulated, your mood balanced, your metabolism revs, like all these things just from getting the morning sun.
And all the things moms could really use.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many stories I can tell you. But anyway, so I like to start the day on my terms, and I'll get to the phone later, but it has its place, and I try to make sure that I use it and it doesn't use me.
I mean, that's amazing to hear, because you are a content creator, influencer, right? Like, you're in that realm, and to hear it from someone like yourself that it's possible, even somebody where your job is literally from devices and doing those things, like, you can schedule it into these small little moments. I actually, you know what, it makes me think of this mom that I've seen before who, similar, you know, was some form of content creator. And she said the way that she does it is she'll have a block of time, and that's where she does it all, and then doesn't touch it at all the rest of the day. I found I'm kind of the opposite. I'm such a, like, if I can brush my teeth and do this, like, I'm going to do that. And if I can, like, make this food and do this, I'm going to do that. Like, I'm such a, like, multitasker. But it's really, your words, I've heard this saying so many times, but it's doing something to me extra right now, thinking that I think that's where the time goes by. That's where you miss it, because you're so busy trying to figure out what you can do with the minutes you have that you kind of don't realize that you could just slow down and enjoy that minute. And the minute's still the same, you know? I love the perspective. So what do you think then for moms? Like, you know, we were kind of having this conversation earlier that we're both moms, but we're in different seasons of it right now. For somebody like myself, where, you know, I shared something on my socials recently about going out and catching the sunrise, but doing it alone without your children. And I could tell it did something for a handful of moms, but some of them were like, well, my babies need me right now and I can't do that, you know?
Yes.
What would you say to those moms who are kind of in the throes and the depths of motherhood? There has to be other ways that they can still find.
Yes. That's a great question. So the first thing I'm thinking of is a tradition I learned about in Colombia, South America in June of last year.
Okay.
So I was talking to a fellow there and he said, you know, the moms with their newborns, they get the morning sun for just 2 minutes with their newborn intentionally, because he said they believe it's good for their skin and for their health. And if they don't do it, then likely their kids will have cascade of problems. We're talking about newborns, Morgan. So,
and you say just 2 minutes.
Just 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So you said 2 minutes can go by like scrolling and brushing your teeth, right? So I think it's something that's doable. I also would say, I think one reason moms feel so stressed, number one, they're doing it all by themselves, which is difficult. The places I've gone around the world, there's intergenerational living.
They don't do it that
so
way.
Grandma or the aunt is holding the baby while you're doing something else. No one has to do it by themselves. It's a wonderful, wonderful gift. So that is missing. But the other thing is we've become kind of like astronauts. You know, we live under artificial light. We never touch the ground. You know, we're like in these little prisons of our own creation. And so these things cause our cortisol and stress levels to rise in very unhealthy ways. You know, I've heard 5 o'clock back in the day, people used to call it the arsenic hour, where either you want to take it or you want to give it to your kids because you can't take it anymore. You know, you're got to make dinner. Everyone's hungry. Everyone's grumpy. I'm like, run outside and call it the golden hour. Take advantage of the sunset. Let the kids will follow you, depending on their ages, of course. But usually, like I said, more is caught than taught. And they'll be like, what's mom doing? Why does she have her feet on the ground? Like I say this at the end of every Weston A. Price Foundation Wise Traditions podcast. And it's just a saying that came to me. And I realized this is a really great note for living. And it is just keep your feet on the ground and your face to the sun, because both give us the energy that we need. And the earth in and of itself kind of absorbs that, I guess I'll call it, it's a positive charge on the electron and cellular level that needs to be offloaded somewhere. And if it's not, it can lead to oxidative stress, which creates these free radicals, which are cancer causing. So by getting your feet on the ground, you're releasing that positive charge and you're taking in the earth's negative charge, which is great for positive energy. I know that sounds really complicated, but that's the idea, is get barefoot and get that sun in your eyes.
You know, and we live in this world too, where when you're cognizant of being barefoot, I will notice how long I could go, or even an entire day where I never touch the ground. When you're really paying attention to it.
Right, when you notice.
Yep, you put your shoes on to walk outside, to put the kids in the car, to go do the whatever. And, you know, if you're doing something that's indoor, your shoes are on, and then you wear them and you get home, you take them off, and then you're barefoot, you know, on linoleum, but that's not the same as going out, you know, to the earth. And then even, you know, everything's paved in concrete and, you know, so in our home, I will say, like, I mean, I'm not going to put my feet on camera, but I'm actually barefoot right now. We are very like intentional with it. And my kids as well. Like, you know, my oldest is you can't keep the shoes on her. Like, well, as soon as we get somewhere, her shoes are off. It's hilarious. But tell me, Hilda, you have alluded a couple times about traveling a lot. And I imagine you have seen some really interesting things. And I want to know your story of observation, I guess, of different cultures, specifically around moms.
Yeah. So we were just talking about how stressed moms are and the intergenerational living that we're missing today, especially in the U.S. It's not missing in a lot of places I've been. So I was in Ethiopia a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. And let's go back to the sun and the feet on the ground. So everybody's barefoot in the tribes. I went to visit 5 different tribes in the Omo Valley, and none of them had shoes on. And I remember our guide interpreter, Mulye, I think was his name. He said, hey, I'm trying to raise money so we can get shoes for these tribes. And I was like,
You're like, wait, don't do it.
I know. And it's so funny because probably he would expect anybody else visiting the country to be like, sure, of course they need shoes. I was like, no, they've got that going good.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is they have each other. So when I first got to the Mercy tribe, and this is the tribe that's known for the lip-plated women. I don't know if you've seen pictures of them in National Geographic, but
I have.
They purposely extend their lips because they find it more beautiful. And of course the men do too. And the larger the lips, the more attractive they are to get married, which kind of sounds like the Kardashians to me.
I was going to say, we have that here too, actually.
Exactly. But anyway, so I got to be among the Mercy people, and the women, several moms were together with their children at the same time, and they were making the meal while the men were in the fields. So they had each other, you know? And so that's why I'm grateful for the Lone Wolfe podcast. I'm grateful for all the ways in which we're trying to get connected because we know we need each other in this day and age. And of course, it's much better in person. So that's why I love being in-person events too. But, you know, if you've got 4 kids under 5, like I did, you're like, okay, I can hardly get out the door, let alone go to some event, Hilda. So that's where we can use technology. We can leverage it to help us find people who are like-minded, who can encourage us on our journey. But I'm telling you, nearly everywhere I've been, the indigenous people groups spend a lot more time outdoors than we do. And we would be better for it if we did the same.
I agree. What about, I feel like this would be a commonly asked question. What about weather conditions?
Aha. I thought you were going to go there. Yes, it's true. And so like even right now, like we've had this crazy cold snap in the United States right now. I don't know if it's man-made or natural.
That's a whole other podcast topic, right? We could go that direction.
I saw in your show description, you're like, we might go down some rabbit trails. I was like,
Yep.
But what I want to say is when it's cold, how the heck are you going to go barefoot? I have a couple of suggestions, possibilities. Number one, of course, if you're going to dare to do it on snow, and I have friends who do that all the time, obviously you can't do it for very long because you don't want to get frostbite. So you could challenge yourself that way. But what I like to do is when I go to the park, I take off my glove and I put my hand on the trees. You know, I touch the trees, and because they're obviously
connected.
Exactly. They're getting up through their roots, the energy from the earth. So I get it vicariously. And I think they're happy to share. So you could go barefoot, you could touch trees, or you could even put on wool socks and walk around outside a little bit, you know? It's like do something different. I mean, this is the Lone Wolfe podcast, right? So we've got to dare to stray from the pack.
That's right. I love it. And that's us. We've been doing a lot of that because we just went through a storm, and while we were in Colorado, it was 7 degrees and freezing cold. And it's been really interesting to see this change for our family because it's so easy to think that there are these, you know, like weather, for example, are things that would stand in the way, and therefore you cannot do these things that you know are good for you. But these excuses that come up, really, we don't have that option on the road. And I kind of love it because it's 7 degrees. And you know what? We still have to go out and move the laundry that's a half mile away from where our trailer is. We still have to go out and thaw out the water tanks so we can do the dishes or cook a meal. And our kids are right there with us, and they don't care. They don't know any different.
Right.
It's like you're saying, they're going to, you know, see mom and dad doing these things and they're going to absorb that. They're not sitting inside being like, it's too cold, we can't possibly go outside and do these things. It's like mom and dad are putting their jackets on, like, let's bundle up and let's go. And they're trompling around, and our baby's learned how to put her hands in her pockets, and she just kind of waddles around and follows us like through the snow. And it's 7 degrees out, and it's really been incredible to see. We've had such a firsthand, I don't know, experience, I guess, of kind of getting out of that modern culture and being stripped away from all the things you think you need, and to keep it on the motherhood spectrum. Like you've mentioned, you know, what's the term you used with the eyes when you look in the sun? Something
feet on the ground, face to the sun.
No, but then you said a term of like
the suprachiasmatic nucleus.
That one. Say that 10 times fast.
I know. I like it because it's like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm not even going to attempt to try to say it. So there's so many things from that realm that we can almost like quantify and know like this is healthy. But I'm like here living it firsthand of what it does to like my nervous system.
Yes.
Even if my girls didn't follow me outside, if I go outside and I take that energy from the sun and I touch a tree or I ground, I walk back into my girls and I feel light. I feel floaty. And it's a feeling that, I hate to say it, I don't think I've really felt it. And my mother had before I got out of the matrix. And it's not to say that women need to sell their house and all their belongings and live out of a trailer to experience that. But it's really made me, I don't know, want to show up for the moms that I do know and share things with them a little differently of what maybe is missing in their life, right? We're so quick to need more of things, but really what we need is a lot more of less. And then all of a sudden you realize like what's important, what's needed to show up as a whole embodied human and mother, and your kids benefit from it and your marriage benefits from it. And it's truly been the greatest experience.
I'm so happy. It's like you've stripped away the clutter, literally and figuratively. And like you said, we've been kind of programmed into having this consumeristic mindset. Have you ever heard of that movie? What's it called? They Live?
No.
This is the coolest. Okay, this is a little conspiracy theorist, but
I love it.
It's so freaking cool. So I've actually never seen the movie myself.
Okay.
But I've seen snippets of it. And what happens in that movie is that this man, let's say he's in Times Square in New York City, he puts on these glasses and it makes everything more clear to him. And so he puts on the glasses and looks at an advertisement, and instead of them selling you something, it just says consume. He puts them on, looks at a government announcement, it says obey. Like, it's just crazy. And so I'm bringing this up in this context because I think by paring down, you've thrown off the label that companies give us, which is consumer. And you're actually a human being. Like, I think that's one thing I've noticed all over the world. Yeah, we don't need half the things we think we do. And when they're stripped away, we get to enjoy what we have even more, which is, of course, our life and our family and
health,
everything, all the little things. You notice the smallest things. So
you do.
I just want to go back for a minute to the weather thing, because something you said jogged a memory in me when I was in Mongolia, which is one of the most sparsely populated, harshest climates on the planet. It's over there between Russia and China. The people were not cold adapting in the sense that you and I have discussed. Like, they weren't like, freezing on purpose or, they were experiencing the elements though. And I guess I just feel like they're a very rugged, healthy populace because of that. Like, they go out to milk the yaks or to get the yak manure for their wood burning stove and their gurs or yurts, and I know we hadn't quite gone there yet, but getting uncomfortable or using the cold as a tool for well-being is really important. I mean, that's why I've included it in this book I have coming out, in this course. I call it Shivers, because we just don't do that much anymore.
No.
And you're right. We usually radically pursue comfort. A friend of mine said aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort. And I think it's not just aging, it's just the programming that we have. And we think, we got to be comfortable in a recliner chair and just consume information from YouTube or Hulu. But no, what if we turned all of that off and chose to purposely get uncomfortable and see what happens?
Have you experienced this in your own life where you've really implemented being uncomfortable more often?
Oh, 100%. Like,
what effect has that had on you?
Wow. I think it's built my resilience. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to being a young mom. You could poll my 4 children even today and ask them, what is the most frequent prayer you heard your mom utter? And they would say, Dios, dame paciencia. Because I was like, God, give me patience. God, give me patience. I was saying that all the time. I think my cortisol levels were up. My adrenals were running. Of course, I had the 4 kids. I had other responsibilities. I was PTA president. I was a worship leader. I was doing a lot of things at once. So there was a lot going on, granted. But my resilience was short. I didn't have a long fuse. I had a short fuse, I think, which is why, happily I knew where to turn. I turned to God, but I think also I hadn't built that emotional and mental resilience that I could have and that I have since developed by using the cold, actually. So I have plunged in ice holes in Wisconsin and Minnesota. I have gotten in freezing waterfalls in Ecuador. Like, even here in Florida, it's very cold right now. And I was talking to my daughter about getting in the ocean. Why? It seems crazy, but number one, it shows you what you're capable of. So after you've gotten cold on purpose, you're like, hey, I did that for 3 minutes. I can do anything today. So that's one thing. Number two, it does build this mental and emotional resilience, because you learn to endure and to even say, like, I'm cold, but I'm okay. So I was splashing, and just changing subject real quick, but I was splashing in the waves with a friend of mine's son this summer. We went to the beach. We vacation together. Her son is like 9. And we would go into the waves because the parents, by the way, I didn't see them get in the whole week we were there, but the kids got in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And then the kid, recognizing it was cold, I was like, let's just say I am cold and I'm okay. And we just said it over and over, and it was fun and it was doable. And so these are the kind of things that I would love to see moms embrace more, instead of being like, you get in the water, I'm going to read my book here by the pool. No, get in the water with them.
Yes.
Be the mom on the slide and in the waves. Like, there's so much to enjoy, even in the discomfort, and it will build your mental and emotional resilience, I'm sure.
I love that. That's so true. The kids are always like in there and nothing seems to bother them. And then we become so attached and programmed by our comfort and ease of, we couldn't possibly make ourselves uncomfortable. But I think we need to go in the ocean tomorrow is what I'm thinking.
Let's do it.
We should go dive in the ocean.
Oh my gosh, I am so into it. The other thing you don't know, or you may know, Morgan, actually, I don't mean to underestimate you, but is that the more you expose yourself to cold, the more the body builds brown fat. And this is exactly what children have more of than adults do. So why does a kid say, Mom, I don't need a jacket. I can run around. I'm fine. And you're like, it's freezing out here.
Yeah.
Because they have more brown fat. And so what happens with us is we lose that as we age, unless our body knows it's in demand. And so the more I've exposed myself to the cold, the more I can handle it and be like, hey, it's not that bad out here, You
know what this is making me think of is, and I can't help it, I relate almost everything to birth in my head because I'm a birth worker and I just can't help it. But my really dear friend is a midwife, and she teaches a childbirth class. Anybody can take it. She will have some people desiring like a hospital birth come in, but more often than not, it's women that are preparing for an unmedicated natural birth, whether that be at home or we also owned a birth center. And one of the activities that she would do is she would bring out ice cubes, and the mom and the partner would both hold the ice cubes in their hands, and they would breathe through it, and she'd teach them different breaths, and they put a timer on for a minute. And then at the end, you would let go. And that was to show like, this is a contraction and it's something that's hard, but you can breathe through it and you can do hard things, and then you'll let go and then it's over. Like, just to show. And it's it almost feels childlike in a sense.
Yes.
But it's, I don't know, it's really connecting for me what you're saying, because as adults, we're not used to that discomfort. You literally do have to almost train yourself, or maybe retrain, I should say, your brain to sit with that uncomfortable moment and breathe through it and know that you're okay.
Yes.
And then you let go of it, right?
Yes.
And then you're building that resilience and that confidence and that training to go into, maybe it's labor and birth, but maybe it's whatever else you could apply that, idea to.
Oh yeah, 100%. And there's so many stressful situations with your children and the demands, and then the extended family, and who knows, work pressures. Like, it can all really build up. And what if you had that kind of resilience built up so that you could manage it all with more aplomb and grace?
Yeah. So I want to get into the weeds with you a little bit, if you'll follow me. I was thinking about this concept last night that I would really, really love to hear kind of your story and your perspective, and we can break it up in however you feel will be helpful to get all your thoughts in, because it's going to be a lot of thoughts here.
Get myself ready.
So I have a tattoo on my fingers. It's actually 3 things, and I've been thinking about it a lot. I don't know if you've ever heard of the term triple goddess.
No.
So it's getting a little like woo-woo, but stick with me. So the term is triple goddess, and it's 3 stages. So it's represented by the waxing moon, a full moon, and a waning moon. But attached to that is the phases of womanhood, beginning with maiden, transitioning to mother, ending with crone. And each one is representative of things, right? So think maiden is going to be that kind of young, fruitful, maybe a little naive, a little playful. Then you're going to go into the mother, where you have a little more of that like nourishing, kind of slowed down, giving. And then the crone, where you have that like wisdom, right? You've done all 3.
Yes.
And so I would love to take you back, and let's talk about what it was like when you were the maiden. What was it like for you as a girl? What were kind of your role models? How did you view yourself? How do you feel society viewed you? And then we could talk about that transition then into mother.
Yes.
And I want to hear about your journey in mother. and then your journey in Crohn.
Sure. So, like I said, before the surgery, I was a skinny, scared, underconfident kid. And my faith in God and the surgery and all these things kind of helped me kind of come into my own a little bit. But emotionally, my family fell apart when my parents divorced just a couple years after the surgery, actually. So I feel like in my maiden years, as I became a teenager and then my early 20s, I was definitely still looking for love and approval, I think. I was
seeking it.
Oh my gosh. I dated like all these guys, and I don't even know if people date much anymore, but I was just like one after the next in our little fellowship group. Happily, they were all Christians. So it wasn't anything too
they
crazy.
Were like total losers.
But so it was, I definitely liked having fun. I definitely was playful. I had that aspect. But definitely there was still kind of a seeking and a longing for a love that was more lasting than my parents.
So when you shifted into mother, did that crack you open?
That's a good question. What I felt cracked me open actually was my relationship with my husband. Now, girl, we've been married probably longer than you've been alive, over 30, 34, 35 years now. And he loved me so unconditionally, Morgan. Like when I first met him, and again, remember, I've been dating guy after guy after guy. And suddenly this guy, he seemed genuinely interested in who I was as a person. It wasn't just like, let's have some fun and, this is a passing thing. And he was respectful physically, but also emotionally. And I thought, wow, this is so weird.
Something felt different.
Yes.
Yeah.
He definitely was wanting to get to know my family, which, my mom's from Mexico, my dad's from Cuba, and he was just there for me. So in a very profound way, my relationship with him became very restorative. So I feel like that's kind of what started cracking me open. And then, yes, with the babies, of course, one after the other, which I was happy about because I was always like, I don't want to be that mom who has one in elementary school and one in high school. Like, I didn't want to be like that. Yeah. I was like, let's just
multiple school drop-offs.
I was like, no. Let's have them all at once as quick as we can. And thank God we were blessed with that. But yes. And then as a mom, my husband and I decided together that we wanted to provide like a safety net for our kids that we didn't have. Because my parents divorced, like I said, when I was about 11. His parents divorced when he was in college. And we're like, we just don't want that. We want to be together. We want to have a strong foundation. So I think in that, so it was the maiden, it was the mother. In that mother period, I was finding more of who I was supposed to be. I was more grounded, I would say emotionally and spiritually. But the physical piece came a little bit later, more when my kids were, maybe between 10 and 15 or something, is when I got familiar with the Weston A. Price Foundation. And I started having the multifaceted grounding that's really important and pivotal for me today. That's part of what I want to share with moms. And so now I don't like the term Crohn. I go by Sage. Which is similar. Yeah. But because Crohn just sounds like all withered up like a raisin.
Too, yeah.
And I'm like, no, like I feel.
You know what's funny to me? I felt crown is what it related to me. It kind of felt like this, like I now have this like crown on my head and I wear it proudly because I've experienced and lived and this is what I have.
Maybe that's why I have my hat.
That's it. There's your crown.
It didn't fit over my headphones today, but that's okay. But yeah, I feel like I've really come into such a place of peace emotionally, physically, and all the ways that it's a really special place to be. And I don't know. I don't feel like I have particular wisdom, that comes with this necessarily, but I think over the course of time and experience, and because of all the inputs I've had, I think I do have things I do want to share. And it's really beautiful that I have anyone that wants to hear them, so I'm really, really grateful, but it's been a process. And so to a young mom right now, who's like, oh my gosh, like I'm at my wit's end. I'm trying to get the laundry done and then nurse my baby and nourish us well and do all these things, you will have what you need to make that happen. And in particular, I would say, when you show up as your most peaceful, sunbathed, prayed up, grateful
calloused
soul.
Feet.
Yeah, like all the things. Like when you, how can I put this? I think sometimes moms think that they should put themselves on the back burner, but I think if moms take care of themselves, they'll have more to draw from to offer their children. So I want to encourage the mamas to to stay strong, to get that sun, the feet on the ground, and the other bits will fall into place.
I love that because that's something that I have actually been really embodying the last couple years, because I have seen some people very close to me in the same kind of chapter of motherhood as me, with kids of similar ages. And I had my first very young. I was 22 when I had her. I got pregnant with her when I was just finishing college. And so I guess call it some mild level of wisdom I had over my friends, you know, who are my age but have like a 1-year-old, and I had a 5-year-old, you know, like I had a little more years under my belt. I was just watching them give so much, and they're absolutely incredible mothers, but then just seeing them like kind of wither. And it really made me think that society almost convinces us that it's selfish as moms. There's this weird looming, maybe unsaid idea that it's selfish if we tell our child to wait a second, I'm going to finish my meal, or like to make ourselves breakfast rather than just eat the leftovers off their plate. And it's almost as if it's idolized that like moms are supposed to have coffee for breakfast and are supposed to be busy, and the messy bun and the like, you know, the sweatpants all day. Like those are almost like badge of honor in the modern society. And I'm not shaming any of those things. If that's your style, that's, you know, for you, but maybe it could look different. Like maybe it's actually necessary and would be highly beneficial to your children and yourself if you slowed down and nourished yourself as well alongside your babies. And so that's something that I really believe in our home. And I'm a big advocate for my nutrition as well, or I should say alongside my daughter's nutrition. And to even take it another level deeper, I'm raising daughters, and my daughters are watching what type of mother I am. And I want my daughters to grow up and be the types of moms who make themselves breakfast, who think that they're worthy of 40 grams of protein at breakfast and not a Starbucks latte, right? Like I want them to know that they're so worthy of those things, and not to be the type of mom that's just pouring from the empty cup, but at least from the outside, they're, you know, getting the thumbs up, the approval from society, like you're doing it right because you're exhausted and worn out. Like that means your kids are benefiting, right? Like you can have both. And so I want you to speak on, let's maybe go into the nutrition side of it. And what does deep, true nourishment and nutrition look like for women who are in the throes of motherhood?
I know it can be challenging. Again, I've been there 4 kids in 5 years. And then it felt like, to me, Morgan, my kids were always hungry. They would come home from school.
That's the truth of the story.
They'd come home from school and they'd be like, "Hey, I want a snack." And then I'd give them a snack. And they'd be like, "I want another snack. I want another snack." Finally, I started teasing them like, "For your 7th snack, what do you want?" And then I realized, actually, in this case, Morgan, they really were hungry because I wasn't giving them the nutrients they needed.
Depleted,
I didn't know at that time anything about even the macros, you know, the fats and proteins and carbs. So if they wanted a snack, I would give them pretzels, let's say, or here's an apple, or here's some popcorn. It's like, where's the fat and protein? No wonder they were hungry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, I did that. But then as I learned more, as I say, know better, do better. I'm not trying to shame or guilt myself, but that's where I was at that time. And as I got into understanding how we can deeply nourish ourselves based on ancestral ways, things started to shift. And my family was so grateful, actually. They were like, "Wait, what?" And let me be clear. It didn't mean exchanging, you know, throwing everything out. I'm big on small baby steps. I think the first year I started learning about the Weston A. Price Foundation, for whom I make the podcast and everything, I was like, let me just switch one thing, and it's going to be fats. Sally always says, get your fats straight. So I got rid of the country crock, which I now know is a crock, and I replaced it with real butter. And it was so satiating and so wonderful. Of course, it has the vitamins A, D, E, and K, and these fat-soluble vitamins that help you absorb the other nutrients in any food that you have with butter. Like it's just so powerful. I think Sally even calls it the queen of fats. I think it's phenomenal, but I didn't know it at the time. But anyway, I started introducing it. And then, my kids were satiated probably for the first time in their lives. And we would sometimes make meals that would look like a regular meal. And we're not all just eating, I don't even know, edamame or something, you know, or sushi rolls. But like we'd make BLTs. I remember specifically every week we would have BLTs. done with, bacon from the local farmer, sourdough bread. And then we would have like a raw milk smoothie with like banana and maybe a little bit of honey and vanilla extract. And it was like amazing. And people would come to my house and they're like, wait, this is healthy. When I eat healthy at my friend's house, it's not as good because they were probably eating low fat.
Yeah.
But here we were eating, focused more on the nutrient density, which is what Dr. Price found. And do you mind if I do a little segue on him? Because I think he's so fascinating.
Yes,
okay.
Please do.
So he was the most important dentist, researcher, food guy that you've never heard of. So he, like 100 years ago, was like, wait a minute. Why are the kids coming into my dental clinic with crowded teeth, poor behavior, poor posture, all these issues? And I see people in National Geographic magazine who have these gorgeous smiles. They have great posture. They look fertile, optimistic, and happy. He's like, something's off here. So he took it upon himself to travel the world. He went over the course of 10 years to 14 different people groups. And he was looking for isolated indigenous people to observe how they were living and what they were eating. And he took copious notes. He wrote a book about it. I could go on and on. It's called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. But the crux of it is this. The healthiest people on the planet back then and today are those eating a more nutrient-dense diet, particularly rich in the fat-soluble activators that I mentioned earlier, those vitamins A, D, E, and K. A lot of these appear in foods that we don't even eat anymore, Morgan, like liver and kidney, fish eggs and oysters. They're high in the macros, but the trace nutrients, these are so important for our well-being, for our hormone balance, for immune system function, our body's regulatory systems, all the things. But we, in our modernity, have chosen the ultra-processed foods over the ancient stuff. And I get it. I totally get it. So for the mom right now who's like, oh my gosh, I want to eat a nutrient-dense diet. I want that steady mood that comes from that. I want to not be catching a cold every other month because my kid comes home with a runny nose. Like the mom especially, if she wants to make a shift, I would suggest the small swaps like I did. Start with butter and then maybe start with regenerative meat that you can get from a farmer's market. You don't have to go super fancy. Just do the best you can within your budget. But I would say that home-cooked meals are important for you and your family because you're infusing them also with vitamin L, which is love. That energy really makes a difference too. So, and you'll save money. You might think, oh, organic is out of reach. Okay, if it's out of reach, buy something else, but make your food from scratch and your family and your own health will flourish.
I completely agree. And we've implemented that. So it's funny because you're talking about this time, when your kids were so much younger and you were implementing it. I just did this exact same thing in my family 3-4 years ago, so fairly recently, and I went through the exact same thing where you're fed all these ideas that it's not possible, we don't have the time, like the sourcing is too challenging, it's too expensive, and I refused to accept that.
I love
because
that.
I just knew that I needed more, my body needed more. It started with me, and then I saw some behaviors and some things with my oldest where she was struggling, and I was like, food is so powerful though, and I always thought we were eating healthy. I really did. I always thought, because I, would shop maybe at the health food store and I buy the like healthy whatever, but I trusted it, I put my full trust in it and I never looked deeper. And so a few years ago when I came across Weston A. Price and the principles, and I just dove into all of it and I was like, that's it. That's what I've been feeling.
Yes.
Somebody else agrees. Like, I need to look into this. Like, it gave me almost the confidence to be like, let's go dive into it. And I literally went through our entire pantry that same day, through everything, and threw a lot of things away. I gifted a bunch of it to this little micro school that my daughter was going to. And I just like told my husband, like, we're doing things different now,
I love that.
And I had always cooked food, I've always I had a good foundation, I suppose you could say. But just changing those things makes such a difference in the way that you show up as a mom and for your children too. Like, it was almost an instant change in my daughter. I lived it firsthand, just as you did, but I guess more recently.
And it happens all around the world too. So I don't know if you know the backstory on the podcast, but a Maasai warrior contacted the Weston Price Foundation. A Maasai warrior in Kenya. He had a little flip phone. He called the foundation. He said, please send someone over. We're all getting sick. He goes, I have diabetes. My wife has asthma. He had seen the very things you saw with your own kids in his own family as well. His daughter had crowded teeth. He's like, what's happening? He had come across some of the pamphlets explaining that nutrient density actually should begin preconception, and that how we feed ourselves today, of course, affects our health and our children's health as well. So he asked for someone to come over. So I went over with another volunteer, and it changed everything, because when I was over there, I was able to say, don't eat the American way, for goodness sakes, eat your way, eat the way that your people have thrived for millennia. And so indeed, they made some shifts, and I went back in 2016, the following year, and it was just remarkable. But they had also been enticed, to have sodas at celebrations, community celebrations, where they maybe normally would have a fermented drink, and they had kind of had one foot in their ancient ways and one in modern lifestyle. So I'll explain. I was connecting with this one woman, and the man sitting next to her was drinking blood. This is one of their traditions. He was drinking blood, and she had a chai tea in one hand and a jam white bread sandwich in the other. Like, I was like, what's happening? But they've also been sucked into like convenience and cool, hip, modern foods are posh, but it's like cotton candy. The modern ultra processed foods promise huge and deliver nothing. And so we really should clean our cabinets and do the best we can to nourish ourselves with foods that are nutrient dense. Now, I know, just like the next person, that this isn't always easy. This is why I've partnered with Birthright. I think you've heard of them. They're this amazing supplement company with supplements that are designed uniquely for women, and they're food forward. They're animal based. So some of the products have liver and kidney, oysters and fish eggs, the things I mentioned earlier. So there's a prenatal that has the fish eggs and the oyster and especially the foods that are important for a baby's development in utero. And then Revive has similar foods, but things that include like detoxification powers, like milk thistle and dandelion root. I mean, I just think these are so fabulous. And I can tell you too, that they don't only help your kind of physical body or baby's body, but they also help stabilize mood, support hormone regulation, all the things. And of course, I've seen this in practice at my travels around the world. People who eat the foods that give the body the support it needs are the happiest people on the planet.
And we're missing that.
We really are.
We're so unhappy. We're so disconnected and undernourished and
totally
lacking in our American society, especially.
And just to circle back, Sally told me that it's likely I wouldn't have been born with a birth defect if my mother had had more vitamin A in her diet.
Hilda, I love that you go this direction, because it was actually one of the questions that I had as I was just curious to know. And I love that you started where I was like, tell me about yourself. And you're like, let me take you all the way back. What was your mom's prenatal nutrition and supplementation? And, with birth defect aside, just in general, what was that like?
Well, she had come to the U.S., and so she had left behind her traditional foods. So she was no longer eating more animal products and so forth. She had come to the U.S. She was busy. She and my dad both worked full time. We had a nanny, but food was not important in our household. It was actually relegated to the back burner, literally. And I think we had a nanny for some time who would try to make food, but I remember just drinking grape juice and eating TV dinners, especially after my parents divorced. But going back to before I was born, I think she was missing foods that were rich in vitamin A. It must have been, she was deficient. And liver, by the way, is one of the best sources of vitamin A. You don't need to eat a lot of it. You just need a little bit to get that vitamin A. And she was missing it. And so that vitamin is, I think Sally even calls it like the conductor, the maestro that oversees all of the vitamins and the hormonal function in the body. So if you have sufficient vitamin A, you're golden. And my mom didn't have that. So this is one reason I love liver. Well, I say I love liver. I take Revive every day. I do eat liverwurst. I do enjoy that. But I think my mom, God bless her, I know she did the best she could. But I think that was really a factor in why I was born the way I was born.
How interesting.
And what's funny now is that women get nervous because of the information overload I alluded to earlier. They're like, vitamin A toxicity. Like, even if I'm taking these supplements, am I going to overdo it? I'm like, girl, you would need to take like 62 supplements a day to get anywhere near vitamin A toxicity. That we really have the issue of being undernourished when it comes to vitamin A. Do not worry about toxicity. I think some of the stuff out there is designed to have you in that fear, flight, or freeze mode, and you don't need that.
Well, and then call me controversial, but look at an average prenatal and what is inside of those. They're all synthetic.
I know that.
They're not easily absorbed. They're not bioavailable. Like they're basically just a $22 bottle of
expensive pee.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. Exactly.
It's not going to stop anywhere along the way.
No, and if we all wake up and realize that there are animal forms and these more accessible, nature-given things that we can make our prenatal nourishment out of, what's going to happen to all these companies that are over here trying to sell us trash,
I know.
But there is an awakening and it's happening. Women are starting to wake up and desire these things, and how amazing that Birthright is this option for those women who, because there is, kind of, maybe on our side where we're a little deeper in the like health world, there is a bit of like this idea that you don't need prenatal vitamins anymore, that you could get it just from diet. But the problem with that is our soils are depleted, our animals are, not necessarily healthy. It can be very challenging to source like the highest quality of these things to really get the best nutrients out of it. And pregnancy is such a huge demand and a huge nutrient puller. You need a little bit of support as well, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
And how amazing to have a supplement that's actually coming from liver and kidney and fish eggs and oysters and like all the things that we should be eating every day. But in the modern world, that's a challenge.
It is
even for people like you and I, it's a challenge.
100%. And what people might miss too and not understand is that vitamin A doesn't come to us in isolation. So when the scientists develop a synthetic vitamin of some sort and say, here's your vitamin A or here's your vitamin D, it doesn't come like that in nature. It comes in combination in the right proportion to other nutrients in the food. So yeah, you can't really replicate it synthetically, though they try. And people love, getting even a bottle of synthetic vitamins and looking at, oh, I get this percentage of that. Not necessarily, I want to say. So this is why I love to go back to ancient wisdom and be food first. If you can absolutely have that pristine diet and, get your eggs from a place, I mean, that's fabulous actually. And I love eggs as much as the next person, but I also know ancient cultures actually worked hard to get the nutrients that they knew would form a good baby in utero. I'm going to tell you a story from Peru. So Dr. Price came across some people who lived in the highlands in the mountains and saw that they were getting fish eggs and actually laying them out to dry to take back up the mountains. And he was like, why are you doing this? And they said, to have healthy babies. Like they couldn't tell you, oh, it has this vitamin A in it, or, this particular thing that's good for baby's brain and immune system development. But they knew traditionally what their people did. And so we in the US especially, I feel like we've gotten disconnected from food traditions. And so that's why I love traveling. That's why I love learning about them, because I realize, oh, we can learn so much from looking to the past.
Truly, there's so much you can learn. I love that, Hilda. You have so much amazing, like, worldly experience. It's so cool just to see, not, there's this little box here, but there's so much more beyond that. There's so much that we can learn and take from it.
Oh yeah, there is so much. And that's why I'm kind of not done traveling yet. Like people are like, where are you going to next? I find it so fascinating. And they say that when an elder or sage passes away, it's like a library has burned down. So I'm determined to go around and learn from all the sages I can. Wow. And I have so many stories to tell. I'm thinking about Colombia. I'll just say one more, where I was there last June, and I was literally the elders in the community. They're called mamos or mamas, which are wisdom keepers. And I met a woman with the Arhuaco tribe who was a weaver. And they spend months weaving these bags that they carry to exchange gifts. Like instead of a handshake, they'll exchange coca leaves. Like it's wild. It's so wild. So they spend all this time. But, as they're weaving, they're thinking on purpose. And I consider it kind of like a prayer that they lift up for humanity and for each other. And maybe even for whoever will wear the purse, I'm not sure, or the backpack. But I feel like, to return to what we were saying earlier about slowing down and paying attention, like we would do well in this fast-paced world to think more deliberately. And that's another one of my small habits that I try to share with moms is take time, invite your kids to think about what are we thankful for today?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever little thing they come up with or whatever little thing you come up with, I'm just thankful that, the water didn't spill when we put it precariously on the edge of that table, whatever it is, get specific, but start your day with gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
That walk that I was describing that I do every morning when I get the morning sunlight, I don't know if I told you, but I take a pretty long walk. But it's not just to get steps in. It's basically a prayer walk because I want to offer thanks to God for my day. And so I bookend my day with time outside, time in prayer and gratitude. And then when I lay my head on the pillow, I also review, what am I thankful for? Where did I blow it? Just offering it all up to God because he can make something beautiful out of nothing. And that's what I trust.
I have a version of that.
Yeah.
Myself. I don't, like you were saying, my time is not fully my own right now.
Mm-hmm.
I do it in the shower. So when I shower in the morning, I literally stand there and I close my hands and I close my eyes and I say a prayer. And I pray for strength. I pray for whatever it is that I need for that day. And sometimes it's simple and sometimes it's huge. Sometimes I cry. Like it's literally just a cry out for whatever I need for that day. And then at the end of the day, my husband comes in and we all hold hands. Me and my husband, my 6-year-old and my baby, we all hold hands and we've taught the baby, like, close your eyes. And she like bends herself in half and puts her like forehead on the bed because she doesn't fully understand. And we all hold hands and we say a prayer and we say what we're grateful for and we pray over our family. And then at the end we say amen and we all clap because that's the baby's thing. She thinks you have to clap after you say amen. and then I put them to bed. And then when I sit there, like, we have a little salt lamp that's on and they always have to listen to Gratitude by Brandon Lake. I don't know if you know that song.
I don't know that song.
I listen to it 6 times every night, but I play that and my daughter literally will be nursing to sleep and she does this every time. Almost like this just moment of like, she's also being like, thank you. Like, I'm blessed. All is well. Good night. And then she puts her hand down and she goes to sleep. And so that's kind of how I've bookend my days. And hopefully that speaks to somebody who's maybe on my side of it, where I'm still in the mother very much so, and your time isn't your own. And there's so many demands every single day, but maybe this is where my multitasking benefits me. Everybody's going to hopefully get a shower.
Yes.
Take that moment of quiet time to say your prayer and set your intention, have your gratitude, and then do it with your family at the end of the day. Or maybe it's dinner as well. We do that as well.
Sure.
And just to bring it back to what you said, because Jordan and I have had a whole episode just on, I don't think we even intended to, but a whole episode on family dinners and just how important it is, because I had that growing up and my husband did not. And we are very intentional with it, with our family. And it is a moment of like this deep connection with your family, with yourself. There's no screens. There's no anything to stand in the way of just the 4 of us. And it's eye contact and it's how was your day? And it's, do you need anything from me? How can I help you? Are you okay? Are you well? Like, okay, and now we're going to go to bed and tomorrow we get a new day and we start over. We do that literally every single night in a 22-foot trailer. So if we can do it, you can do it.
Absolutely.
I just want to share that as well, that we have something similar and it's possible with whatever time you have or whatever season you're in. I truly believe that.
Well, one thing that the mamos asked when we were together in Colombia was during one meal, at least, that we not talk at all. So this might be a fun game. You know how kids like to play the quiet, or parents like to have the kids play the quiet game.
Actually, my 6-year-old loves the quiet game.
Really?
And it's the greatest thing for road trips.
Well, okay, that's awesome.
Yep.
But also for a meal, because they were like, people don't realize that you eat your words. Like literally you eat your words. So in our family, when you discuss heavy or hard things while you're eating, they're going into your spirit too. I used to read the newspaper while I ate breakfast. I don't think I was taking in good things mentally and emotionally, while physically I was nourishing myself. I was maybe even detracting. So what the mamos are suggesting is we need to be very careful what we converse about over a meal. Of course, at all times you want to weigh your words, but I thought that was fascinating, especially for a talker.
I love that. And something that I've actually noticed recently when we were still living in a house was I had started lighting a candle at dinner, and it was something that my parents did when I was growing up. I never really thought anything of it, but there was always candles on the table, and my mom would always come and light them before we were allowed to start eating. And the lights were always relatively low in the house. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want to try that. And I started doing it. And the way my nervous system felt at that meal was undeniable. Like it was all I could think about that meal was like, I feel so calm. And then you digest better.
Yes.
Yeah, and you probably are absorbing your food better. And you're probably doing the same thing for your kids as well. That I really like that perspective, that maybe that isn't the place to share the hardest parts of your day while you're eating this nourishing meal.
That's right.
Maybe you do it while you prepare the food and then end with the feel-goods while
you're
eating.
chopping things.
Yeah, while you're chopping. Yeah, you're putting the energy out. Okay, Hilda, I feel like you and I could sit here and talk all day long.
We could.
In our podcast tent. But I have a funny feeling Jordan's probably wondering where I'm at. He's on dad duty today. He's off the mic today. But tell me, Hilda, and everybody who's listening, what is in store for a busy lady like you?
Well, like I said, I'm excited about upcoming travels, but the thing I'm most excited about is this book and this course I've been working on. It's called The Mother Code, 6 Habits for Endless Energy.
Hilda, I had no idea you were doing something like this.
Yes.
I need you to tell me all about it.
Okay. Well, this is the thing. At first I was like, why am I calling it the Mother Code? I'm not like a coder of programs or anything, but I thought it reminded me of the mother load, like how burdened actually our moms are. And I was like, I want to bring something to them that can help them unlock the code for healthy parenting. And really, I want to say, moms, I don't know if any dads are listening, but I'll just say, you are the backbone. You really are the backbone of the family. You know, the man is the protector. He's the provider. And maybe this sounds too traditional, but you're unconventional. So I'll have to say.
We're very traditional.
Yeah. But the mom is like the heart of the home. And so maybe that's why people say, if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody gonna be happy, you know? So it's like,
but what a gift that is to be the heart of the home.
Yes.
If we learn how to really tap into it and embrace that energy.
And so the 6 habits are habits I've observed all around the world. And most of them are accessible and free, but I talk about not just where I've seen them around the world and how science backs them, but how you can integrate them into your life and even involve your family in applying them. Like I said, more is caught than taught. If you invest in your generational health, mama, and you show up as your healthiest self right now, your kids will have that gift also as they get older. Like your mom with the candle, putting the candle on the table. Now you do it. Like what if that were, getting your face to the sun first thing, or honoring sleep and making it look a little differently in your household? Like I even think of the mom who is right now nursing her baby beside an LED light bulb. And I'm like, no, like, let's get you back into that parasympathetic mode. So it's not just the milk that you're providing your baby, but the whole spirit behind it is good for the baby. There's so many little things. So I have a course, and why would someone get the course instead of the book? You could pick. But with the course, I tell more stories, and I actually will help walk you through the habits, because I personally will be investing in the moms that want the course and spending time with you at the top and at the end, setting your goals, talking about what you'd like to see, and then making sure you got there at the end. So that's the secret sauce of the course. The book itself is going to be wonderful and valuable too, I believe, but I'm really excited because I want to give what I didn't have 20, 30 years ago to the moms of today.
What a gift to moms. Is there going to be opportunity with the course to potentially like meet other moms and have like a group of, to kind of, because we were speaking earlier on how these other, cultures don't leave moms by themselves, to bring up their children all alone. But that's such a hard thing to find. They say, find your tribe. But what does that mean? Where do we find our tribe? And what does that look like? Is that going to be an opportunity in this course?
Yes. I want to have a Mother Code community for sure. And people who've taken the course have said that's part of the secret sauce. It's not just connecting with me, but with each other.
Which is harder said than done in the real world. Like, what a gift, Hilda, that you're going to create something that you wish you could have had. And you're going to put all this love and intention, put a little bow on it, and gift it to all these moms.
Yes.
I hope that it lands in the laps of all the mamas who need it.
Yes. And I'm open to feedback too. If someone's like, oh, this part of the course didn't work for me, well, tell me why not, and we'll tweak it. I'm not saying I have all the answers by any means, but I have literally, been around the sun a bunch of times, if that's the way the planet works anyway. And I feel like I have so much I want to share. And yeah. And I will say, I'm really happy that you and I touched on the spirit piece, because what good is it, Morgan, if we have the best, most regeneratively raised meat on the table, the best light inputs, and even honor our sleep if our spirits are downcast, discouraged, or anxious. Then we're still missing an important piece of the puzzle. And so the Mother Code talks about that too, of course. And I love it. I think it's really important to make sure you do things that light you up, that make your soul shine, that remind you who you are and whose you are in this world.
And I love that you mentioned as well that a lot of your, did you say codes? Is that or principles? What was the term that you used?
They're healthy habits. They're habits for endless energy. Yeah.
That a lot of those habits are free or easily accessible.
100%.
Because in a world where it feels like, where moms feel that calling or they know that they have this need, and then they go out and it's this big overwhelming world with all this information, everything's behind a paywall, or all these biohacking things, and you think you have to have this big budget to be able to create this environment where you can have a nourished nervous system and be this wholesome, connected, relaxed mom. But that's not true. And I love that you're going to bring these very easily accessible things, because moms need that. They need something that's right there that they can grasp easily and implement.
And for years, I admired and loved, and I still do, the biohacker bros. Dave Asprey, Ben Greenfield. I could go on and on with all their names.
Yep.
But then I realized, wait, they're not women, number one. Number two, we're all in different ages and stages. But I was like, I don't think I need to be eating or living like Ben Greenfield, even though I love him and admire him. No. So I hope to bring things that are practical and attainable for a mom today.
That's amazing. Where can we find you?
Okay. So I'm Holistic Hilda on Instagram, and I've got a Holistic Hilda YouTube channel, but also more importantly on my website, Holistic Hilda, because that's where I'm going to have information on the Mother Code book and course.
Perfect. Will there be pre-order, or are we waitlisting?
Hey,
right people
now,
need to run?
I don't know when this is going to come out exactly, Morgan.
Run,
right
don't
now,
walk, ladies.
I would invite people to get on the wait list. Why? Because there's going to be a special deal for the people who get on the wait list now.
At your website?
Yes.
holistichilda.com.
That's right.
Amazing. Hilda, thank you so much for being here and just sharing your wisdom and your peace and your energy and your light on everything. And you're just such a gift to all the moms and everybody out there is just trying to, find themselves in a very loud world.
Yes, yes. And I'm grateful to have been here. It's just been a pleasure. I wish peace, happiness, and joy for every single person who's listening right now.
Catch us in the ocean tomorrow morning.
Yes. See you there.
If you feel at home here, leaving a 5-star review helps other families find their way too.
Come hang out with us on socials at Lone Wolfe Podcast, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's next.
Remember, sometimes you have to stray from the pack to discover where you truly belong. Until next time, loners.